Hare Krishna. Are all the devotees able to see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, today we are starting chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Yoga means connecting with the Supreme. So, Karma Yoga means connecting with the Supreme through work. Okay. So, before we start the class, please let us take the blessings of the beautiful deities of ISKCON Mangaluru, Sri Sri Radha Govindji. Sri Sri Radha Govindji ki Jai. Okay. So, this is the first shloka. Sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yat shreya etayor ekam tanme bruhi sunishitam. So here again in chapter 5, Arjuna starts with the question, like now he has a doubt again. Okay, let's see what that doubt is. See, he's asking, "Oh Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then you again say you asked me to fight. So now, please be clear what I have to do. Whether I should fight or not fight, or whether I should renounce work or should I fight." Okay, he's confused now, Arjuna, because why? I'll show you. Because in the last chapter, what does Krishna say in Shloka 4.33? He says, "O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge." So Krishna is saying all work finally it ends in transcendental knowledge. So he's saying, Krishna is saying, so knowledge. So Krishna is giving importance to knowledge. So Arjuna is thinking, but according to Arjuna, knowledge means what? When Krishna is talking about knowledge, means intelligence. He is thinking renunciation. Okay, so what do gnanis do? They are in they develop knowledge, right? And then with that knowledge they go to the forest and they meditate and they emerge into the impersonal Brahman. So Arjuna is thinking, so all work will end in knowledge means what? Finally we have to, I mean, he is under the impression that we have to renounce. So there is nothing, stop work, so renounce and go back. So in shloka 33 Krishna says, gives importance to knowledge. So Arjuna is thinking knowledge means stop work, right? Renunciation means what? Go to the forest and there is no work, stop work. But again, why Arjuna gets confused again? In 4.42, Arjuna in the ending, last shloka, what does he say? After giving so much importance to sacrifice of work culminates in transcendental knowledge. He gives so much. Finally, he says that, right? And then in 4.42, he again says, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand up and fight. So he's saying, do some work. So stand up and fight, he's saying. So now that's why Arjuna is confused. Hare, Krishna in 33 shloka, he said, everything ends in knowledge. Knowledge means what? Renunciation. Renunciation means no work, stop work. Again, now in shloka 42, Krishna is telling, work. He's saying, stand up and fight. So he's confused now. Okay, in 33 he said, don't work, renounce. Now in 42 again he's saying work. Okay, stand up and fight. So now Arjuna is confused. Oh Krishna, you're saying don't work. At the same time you're saying work. So please be clear and tell me what I have to do. So that is the question Arjuna had. Okay. He's confused. Okay. So let's see why he's confused. See, Arjuna is still confused. Why? It is Krishna's plan to keep Arjuna confused. Because if Arjuna is not confused, how will he put up the questions? How will the Bhagavad Gita come out for us? Right? See, why Krishna does so, why Krishna keeps Arjuna confused like that is for our benefit. To stress that work and renunciation are not opposed to each other. So here Krishna, he wants to prove one point, that Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga are not different, right? Both, the goal is the same. He wants us all to understand that. So that is why he made Arjuna get this confusion. Okay, so here rather what one must learn to work in a renounced spirit. See, renunciation means just not leaving our duties and responsibilities and going into the forest. True renunciation means working but do our duties and responsibilities, but without attachment. Okay, leave the results to Krishna. So that is true renunciation. So that we have to understand here. That is what Krishna tells. Say, Arjuna thinks that when Krishna says gnana, gnana implies renunciation of work. Okay, when Krishna says knowledge, gnana, Arjuna thinks that it implies renunciation of work. So renunciation of work means what? Stop work and go to the forest, right? So no work. And that knowledge and work are obviously opposite. See, in 33 he says don't work. In Shloka 42 he says get up and fight. That means work. So obviously not work and work are quite opposite, right? It seems like it is quite opposite. Like light and darkness are contradictory. So, but Krishna says that, however, that one in knowledge should also work. So both combined, Krishna is saying, we need both. See, to work, we need that knowledge. See, if we are blindly doing, see, for yesterday we saw, right, doing sacrifice without knowledge is simply a waste of time, right? Sacrifice which you do on a, I mean, like which you do generally, if you don't know why you're doing that sacrifice, for what purpose. See, you generally offer garlands or whatever to the deity, but you're in the false ego that I am offering those garlands to Krishna. You're still in that bodily concept, you're still in that false ego, right? I am offering to Krishna, but you're not offering it in the understanding that you're a soul and Krishna is the cause of all causes. We are dependent on him, like we are eternal servants of Krishna, and in a humble gratitude way, thanking way, we are offering this garland. So that is not there. That is the true knowledge that we should have. But otherwise, how we are offering, as if I am doing some favor to Krishna by offering a garland. We ritually or out of duty, we just offer a garland to Krishna, thinking that I am offering. But we should think that out of gratitude, everything in this world is Krishna's. I am out of gratitude, I am offering this to Krishna. That should be our true knowledge. Okay, so Krishna is saying both should be there. Work in knowledge. Okay, so both Sankhya and both Karma Yoga lead us to the same result. Okay, so that is what Krishna wants us to understand. That we'll see later. Okay, so this is Arjuna's confusion. So which is better, work with devotion or renunciation of work? So he's confused. Now he's asking Krishna, please tell me which is what is correct for me. What do I have to do? Which is better? Please tell me. Sanyasah karma yogascha nishreyasakarau ubhau tayostu karma sanyasat karma yogo vishishyate. The personal translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work, that is sannyas, and work in devotion, that is karma yoga, are both good for liberation. So he's saying both are good for liberation. Both, the goal is the same. Both will give you liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service, that is karma yoga. So when you work for to please Krishna, that is work in devotional service, is better than karma sannyas. Why is devotional service better than renunciation? Krishna says here, see the differences. See, renunciation versus work in devotion. Actually, we have discussed almost all the points. What are the differences? Okay. Anyways, we'll just try to brush up again. You see, renunciation for a Jnana yogi and a devotee, right? A Jnana yogi, he needs prior purification by prescribed duties, right? He has to purify his senses. So for that, he needs to follow the prescribed duties. If he's a Brahmana, he has to follow his Brahmana duties. Kshatriya, he has to follow his prescribed duties that are given in the Vedas, so that he gets purified. Because without purification, he will still have material desires, right? So first, for that, he has to undergo purification by following the rules and regulations that are given in the prescribed by doing the prescribed duties that are mentioned in the Vedas. But here in devotional service, the process itself purifies. When you're doing devotional service, because all the senses, the body, everything is directly involved in serving Krishna, the process itself, it purifies. We don't have to separately do it. Okay, next, simply jnana insufficient for liberation. Simply just having knowledge that we are the soul is not enough, right? See what the jnanis, they read the Vedas, Upanishads, and they understand that we are not the soul, right? Just having that jnana or knowledge is not is sufficient for liberation. What is needed? Devotees, what they do? Action is must act in the status of soul. So what do the devotees do? They act in devotional service. What is the soul's swabhava? It is to serve the Supreme Lord. So we must show it in action. But whereas the jnanis, they only know that um, they are the soul. But here the devotees, what they do, they act on the platform of soul. So they start doing devotional service, and the risk of fall down is there here, because once what do you say? Once they once they start meditating on this impersonal Brahma Jyoti, there is a risk they will fall down. Because how much time can one person meditate on light or energy? There is no happiness. Like after a certain amount of time, you will get bored. So that's why you will come back down again. There is a risk of fall down. I mean, you will come back, take birth and come back to the earthly planet again from that impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Okay, then success is guaranteed. So entrance into God's kingdom. But by doing bhakti, our success is guaranteed. We will go back into Goloka Vrindavan, and we'll never come back to this material world. And this is incomplete renunciation. Why? Because we are forcing our senses, right? We are not using these senses in a positive way. By forcefully using the senses, after some time, the senses will rebel for sure, right? So that's why this is incomplete renunciation. But the bhakti yoga is karma. What we are talking about, karma yoga, that is complete renunciation. Why? To use everything for Krishna. So we are using our senses, mind, our intelligence, our body, everything in the service of Krishna. So this is complete renunciation. And here they find the root Vishnu. These people, after reading the Vedas and the Upanishad, they understand that we have to they through knowledge they understand that Vishnu is everything. He is the root cause for everything, Vishnu. But devotees, they water the root. Water the root means they do service. Here is everything is knowledge, Nani, right? Everything he understands, but no action is there. But devotees, for them, everything is action only. So here the Gnanis, they understand that Vishnu is the root cause of everything. But here devotees, they obviously they know the root cause is Vishnu or Krishna, and they act also on that platform. They know that they are servants of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna, and that's why they serve the Lord also, right? They do devotional service. And these Gnanis, process is to detach from matter. See, they detach from matter because they understand that if they don't detach from matter, if they keep doing duties and responsibilities by staying in this material world, they'll be getting good or bad karma. So because of which again they have to come back back to this material world and suffer in this material world in that repeated cycle of birth and death. So that's why they try to detach from matter. But here, devotees, they understand that everything in this world belongs to Krishna. So what do? They engage everything in the service of Krishna. Okay, so they become attached to Krishna. They use everything in this world to in the devotional service of Krishna. Okay, so no happiness. Obviously, how long can you meditate on light? There is no happiness, right? Right, there's no happiness. So this devotional service brings happiness. So everything in devotional service is very happy. See, kirtan brings happiness. You dance, that is happiness. You eat, you honor prasadam, that is happiness. You do devotional service in the association of devotees, that is happiness. So everything is happiness here in devotional service. Okay, being with devotees is happiness, right? Like that. Senses restricted cannot relish transcendental devotional service. See, they once they go back to after liberation, they merge into the impersonal Brahman. Since their senses are restricted, they cannot relish transcendental service because they become one. When they merge into the light, they lose their individuality, right? So the senses are restricted and they cannot relish that transcendental devotional service, right? Because that give and take is not there. Okay, but here in devotional service the senses are engaged, right? The devotees, they engage the senses positively. The eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna, the ears to hear Harikatha, the tongue to honor prasadam and talk about Krishna. So they perform multiple devotional activities. So the senses, the body, everything is engaged. Okay, and these people, the senses are restricted by force. They restrict the senses, and they by their own what do they say, own philosophy, they think that there is no personal form of God. Because if there is a personal form of God, we earlier discussed, right? They don't want to again, they think that the karma will be there. So again, after I mean karma, again we have to come back. What is the use of us doing so much tapasya? They think all that. So that's why they cannot after liberation, they cannot enjoy that service to the Lord, because they think that they become merge and become one with God. So they lose their individuality, right? So because of which they cannot relish transcendental devotional service, and they take many births. See, to come to the stage of Gnana Yogi, from Gnana Yogi to Ashtanga Yogi, and then Bhakti Yoga, he has to take many, many births. So he has to get purified, and then finally he comes to Bhakti Yoga. So it takes many births for him to come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Here in Bhakti Yoga, we know that the Bhakti Yoga is ultimate. So quickly achieves Supreme Personality of Godhead. These people, Gnanis, they study Sankhya philosophy. Okay, devotees study Srimad Bhagavatam, and Gnanis, they study Shariraka Bhashya on Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya. Okay, that is the book they follow. Okay, and the devotees, they study Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Okay, so may fall down to philanthropic and altruistic activities. So this we discussed, right? So these gnanis, once they merge, how much time can they meditate on that light? So they get bored and they come back to this material world. Again, they come back and they take, they fall down and they take to philanthropic, and it means they take up social activities like building schools, giving charities, educational institutions, schools, colleges, hospitals. So they come back and they do all these activities because they can't stay for such a long time. They get bored. So that's why they fall down and they come back and they do these social activities. Okay, but the devotees, they have multiple engagements in devotional service according to Pancharatriki Vidhi and regulations. The devotees have n number of sevas they have, right, to do. right from Go Seva or Garland Seva or Tulasi Mala Seva or Garland, ornament making Seva, deity dressing Seva, book distribution, prasadam distribution, you name, there are so many Sevas, right? You can't even count. There are so many Sevas, okay? So that's why Krishna is saying, compared to why he's saying both lead to the same path, right? Both lead you to Vishnu or Krishna. But the thing is, he's saying of the two, devotional service is better. Why? That's why he's given the advantages of why devotional service is better than renunciation, Sankhya Yoga. So he's saying Karma Yoga is better than Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Third shloka. ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते. Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna. So, a real sannyasi, he is not decided by the dress he wears or by stopping work. Okay, a real renounced person is one who works without, what Krishna is saying, without hatred and without desire for results. Like such a person, he does not say, oh, I must enjoy, or he does not say, I hate the situation, right? He never complains, in fact. So he acts only to please Krishna, because a devotee, he knows clearly that Krishna is the whole and that we all living entities are his part and parcel. So that's why the devotee has no confusion, no frustration, and he has no dualities in his mind. So whatever happens, he accepts as Krishna's mercy or Krishna's arrangement. So therefore, the devotee, he remains peaceful in success or failure. Okay, so what do we understand? So one who lives and works in Krishna consciousness is always a sannyasi. He's always free and he's always happy, even in this material world. Okay, so let's go to the next shloka. Sankhya Yoga Pratabala Pravadanti na Pandita Ekam api astitah samyak Ubhayor Vrindate Phalam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Okay, so Krishna, he says here that only the less intelligent think that Sankhya and Karma Yoga are different. Okay, he's saying both are same actually, but the less intelligent think that both are different. So the learned devotees understand that both aim at the same goal, Vishnu or Krishna. So we saw earlier, right? They find the root. They understand that Vishnu is the or Krishna is the root. But devotees, they water the root. That is the only difference. They don't act. Devotees act. They perform devotional service. They, through knowledge, they understand. The jnanis, they understand that Krishna or Vishnu is the root. But devotees, they understand that as well as they perform action. They do devotional service to Vishnu or Krishna. Okay, that is what. Okay, so in Sankhya means what? Carefully analyzing. Like Sankhya philosophy means what? It's an analytical study. So you understand that you are no longer the body, but you are the super soul. Okay, so you understand that. And Karma Yoga means what? You're working in this world, but you do your duty to your 100%, but you offer the results to Krishna. So you are no longer attached. You don't say that I want the results for myself. No, you just do your duty, you offer the results to Krishna. Okay, so So here, what Krishna is saying here in the last line of the translation, he's saying, those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So here, Prabhupada says in a purport, if a person properly follows even one path with sincerity, that is what is that one path? Devotional service. He automatically gets the result of both knowledge and renunciation. Okay, he gets both. Knowledge means what? Gnana. Renunciation means true renunciation is what? You work, but you give the results to Krishna. So both you are getting. So when you're doing devotional service, you get the result of Sankhya as well as karma, both. So that's what they're saying. If you do devotional service, it includes both. The results of both are included in devotional service. You get knowledge as well as renunciation. Okay, so renunciation here means you true. They're talking about true renunciation. See, you do your duty. Renunciation means not stopping work. Means you do work, but you offer the results to Krishna with the knowledge. Okay, with that knowledge that we I am the soul, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. So with that knowledge, when you undergo renunciation, that is called a true renunciation. So when you do devotional service, both knowledge and renunciation, so you'll get the results of both. That's what they are saying. Okay, so if you do um, karma yoga, you get the results of both, right? Both Sankhya and Karma Yoga, both. Okay, so that is what Krishna is trying to say here. So 5.4 Yat Sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tadyoger gamyate ekam Sankyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sapashyati. So translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Okay, so it's the same thing here that they're saying. They're saying both devotional service and Sankhya Yoga are both the same, and a person who sees that are seeing the things as they are. Okay, so that's it's the same thing, explanation as above. Okay. Okay, and they have given the difference, the same thing, 5.2 to 5. See, in many ways, they are both the same. See, Gnana and Karma Yoga are same. See, both Gnani and Karma Yoga. See, Gnani, he neither hates nor desires fruits, right? And Karma Yoga also, he neither hates nor desires fruits. So both are free from dualities. Both are liberated, right? Their end goal is liberation. Both come to understand that he is the soul and not this body, and they become detached. Here the gnanis, they understand that they are soul and not the body, and they get detached from matter. In the sense, they leave all their duties and responsibilities and they go into the forest. But here devotees, they become attached to working for Krishna. After understanding that they are the soul, they understand that we have to serve Krishna. Since we are the soul, we have to serve Krishna because Krishna is our master and we are eternal servants. And that's why they engage. They know that Krishna is the source of the whole material world and spiritual world. So everything in this material world has come from Krishna. So they engage everything in the material world in the service of Krishna. So they become attached to working for Krishna. That's all. So it's everything is like common, right? So this is 5.5, Sankhya and devotional service. What Prabhupada says in the purport is, in the first process, Sankhya, one has to become, please don't get confused with this word Sankhya. Sankhya yoga means nothing but Jnana yoga, okay? So in the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, right? Obviously, they don't want any karma, that's why they get detached from matter. And in devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So devotees, they work, they do their duties, giving the results to Krishna. That is, they work in Krishna consciousness. So factually, both processes are the same. Although superficially, one process appears to involve attachment, though it looks like Prabhupada is saying, actually the result is the same. But it appears that in one process we are saying detachment, and the other process we are saying attachment. Okay, so the meaning is the same, but different words are used. Like detachment from matter means what? Getting attached to Krishna or Vishnu. And attachment to Krishna means all, obviously we are getting attached to Krishna. So finally the outcome is the same, but different terminologies we are using. Okay, so detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. So one who can see this sees things as they are. Okay. Sannyasasthu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogatah yogayukto munir brahma nachire nadigacchati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So here we've already discussed this point, right? See, merely renouncing, see, just if you stop work and finally you start meditating on the impersonal Brahman, I mean, once you merge into that impersonal Brahman, how long can you enjoy that light? How long can you stay in space, just enjoying that energy, that empty space, that light? It becomes boring after some time, right? And there is a chance that you will fall down again to this material world, right? But what will a thoughtful person do? I mean, like a devotee, he engaged in devotional service and can achieve the supreme without delay. So what he does, he engages all his senses in the service of the Lord. Any activity that he does, he is like very happy. Only devotional service makes a person happy. See, if you merge into the impersonal Brahman, and how long can you enjoy the light over there? You are just alone. You merged and became one with God. So you don't even have your individuality. There is just light there. So what kind of enjoyment or happiness? No happiness. But devotees, while even before liberation, even and after liberation also they are enjoying, right? In kirtan they enjoy, they dance, they honor prasadam, they in the association of devotees they do devotional service. Everywhere it is happiness for them. Okay, so that's what they are trying to say here. See, merely just by if you renounce and all activities, yet not engaging. If you don't see, if you renounce everything and you don't engage in devotional service, it is just like dry. It's boring. So what you should do is like you should engage in devotional service. That's what they're trying to say. By engaging in devotional service, it is a blissful process. Okay, now let's go to 7th shloka. Nishkama Karma Yoga. So perfect knowledge that I am not material body, I am soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and I want to render service to Him. So I will work in that detached spirit. So who is the Nishkama Karma Yogi? He is a servant of God And what work does he do? Work allotted by God. How do they work? I work hard with sincerity, dedication to my best ability. What do you do with the results? I hand it over to God. So a Nishkama Karma Yogi, he does his duty to the 100% and he leaves the results to God. Okay? Yes, no, he does not want any sense gratification, does not want the benefit or the results for himself. He gives the results to Krishna. He leaves the results to Krishna. Okay, 5.7. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvan api na lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. See, a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he becomes pure inside and outside. Because he serves Krishna, three things naturally happen to him. What happens? His mind becomes controlled, his senses become controlled, and his heart becomes compassionate to all living beings. Such a devotee does not see anyone as separate from Krishna. Okay, because he knows that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, so he sees everybody as like what he says, such he sees anyone, I mean, like he does not see any living entity separate from Krishna, because he knows everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. Okay, so it's just like see, watering the root of a tree. See, if you water the root of the tree, you don't have to water every leaf separately, or fruit separately, flower separately, branches separately. If you just water the root of the tree, the whole tree is nourished. Like that, when you serve Krishna, automatically it benefits everyone. So if you serve Krishna, you automatically benefit everyone. Okay, so that is why the devotee is very dear to everyone, because he's serving Krishna, he becomes dear to everyone. Just like if you water the root, the whole tree is nourished, like that. And everyone is dear to him. So even though the devotee is always working, he is never entangled in karma. Why? Because he works only for Krishna, not for his own enjoyment. So when he works for Krishna, leaves the results to Krishna, he becomes a karma, right? There is no karma for him. So he is never entangled in this material world. So 8, 9. नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्यते तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् घृणन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि इन्द्रियानिन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Okay, so when the soul and body are separate, right? So when the soul, he understands that he is not the body, and whatever he is doing, the body is doing with by seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, he is not concerned with all that, because that body is concerned with prakriti. The three modes of material nature are totally keeping the body in control. So nothing is in the control of the soul. The soul has no connection with the body. Okay, it's the three modes that make the body see, hear, touch, smell, eat, whatever. So he is totally immaterial. The soul is totally immaterial of what is going on with the body. Okay, whether the body is seeing or hearing, touching, nothing he's concerned. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. Okay, so he understands that he is not the body and he is aloof, far from that. Okay, so he understands. See, when a person is, when a soul, initially he thinks it's the body. So that's why he thinks that out of false ego, everything, I am the master, I am the enjoyer, and everything in this material world is for my enjoyment. Okay, that time with the eyes, and he tries to do anything he sees or hears or whatever he does for his sense gratification. But when he comes into Krishna consciousness, the same senses, when he understands now that he is not the body, he is the soul. The soul engages the body, and body means what? Then again, senses, mind, intelligence, everything. So eyes for seeing Krishna, the beautiful form of Krishna, right? So everything changes. When consciousness changes, everything changes from material to divine. Okay, that is called Krishna consciousness. But it's the same action, but in a different consciousness, right? The eyes are seeing, but here the seeing is different, right? On a Krishna conscious platform. Earlier it was on a material platform. There you were thinking that the soul was thinking that I am the body. But once you understand through knowledge, you understand that you are the soul, then you act on a Krishna conscious platform, on a spiritual platform. Okay, so that is the difference. Because because you understand that body is different, soul is different. Okay, that's why the soul engages the body in doing Krishna conscious activities. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sa papena patram ivambhasa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. Okay, so here they're saying that, like, see, a person who offers all work to Krishna, he gives up attachment to the results. He's not bothered about the results. He does his work completely, perfectly, 100% does his duty, and he leaves the results to Krishna. Okay. So such a person, they're saying, is not touched by sin or karma, even while he's doing all his duties. Like how analogy is given, like how a lotus leaf lives in water, but yet it never gets wet. So, like that, a devotee, he lives in this material world, yet karma never sticks to him. Why? Because he does everything to please Krishna. And when we do any activities for Krishna, it becomes akarma. So, there is no good or bad karma. So, when there's no good or bad karma, there's no necessity for you to come back to this material world. Okay, you go back to Goloka Vrindavan. 11. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So, a Krishna conscious yogi, he works with body, mind, intelligence, and senses. He gives up attachments and he acts only to please Krishna. So when he does work to please Krishna means such work purifies the soul. It does not bind the soul. Okay, if you do anything for your sense gratification, it binds the soul. But if you do any activity to please Krishna, it you get purified and you're no longer bound to this material world. Okay. 12. युक्तः कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिम् आप्नोति नैष्टिकीम् Ayuktah kamakharena phale sapto nibadyate. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. Here Krishna is talking about two particular persons, one who does devotional service and one who is attracted to material activities. So if one who does devotional service, he like he does his duty to his best and leaves the results to Krishna. It means there is no karma for him. So such a person, he goes back to Goloka Vrindavan. He gets liberated from this material world. But if a person, he's greedy and he wants the results, he wants the results for himself, right? He becomes attached to this material world. He becomes entangled because when he does anything for himself, the reaction is there, right? Be it good or bad actions. So he has to come back again to enjoy those good or bad reactions. Okay. And he'll be caught up in this repeated cycle of birth and death. Okay. See, nrigas fall down due to fruitative activities. So here they're giving you an example how fruitative activities bind you and how devotional service is much better. So fruitative activities means karma kandi activities, That's why they say these karma kandi activities, the yajnas, or whatever that you do, and in the mantras, if they are not chanted properly, or that yajna is not done properly, or what for whatever reason, if it is not that ritual, that karma kanda is not done properly, you will get ill effects. Instead of getting good results, forget about good results. You will get ill effects of it. So this is one example for that. We'll understand this through a story. So that's why Krishna says, but if you do pure devotional service, that is the best activity for the soul, where there'll be no ill effects at all. Okay. So now there's a story of King Nriga. He is a very good king. He's a very pious king. He likes to do social activities like sacrifices and charity. So you can see, right, the king is there. So one time what happens, one mistake happens with the king. What happens, one Brahmana, he gives one particular cow. He gives some group of cows, so a herd of cows. So the by mistake, one of the cows from that herd, it because it knows the path of the king's cow shed, so it comes back without the king's knowing and without the Brahmins knowing. It comes, and the next day, the king, he gives the same cow to some other Brahmana, and by ill luck, these both Brahmanas, they seem to be neighbors. And the first Brahmana, he sees that the cow present in the second Brahmana's house, he says, this is my cow. How did it come into your this thing? He said, no, king gave it to me. This is my cow. How will it be your cow? Then the Brahmana says, no, this is from my this herd. It went back to the king's this thing. But this belongs to me. You give it back to me. So the Brahmana argues. Second Brahmana says, no, the king gave it to me. Now it is mine. So both go, take that cow and go to the king. Now king says, what can I do? It happened without my knowledge. See, king was actually trying to do a good thing. See how it becomes a negative thing for him. He was trying to do a good act by doing charity, by giving cows, right? So the Brahmanas argue. Finally, the king tries to convince one of the Brahmanas, but the Brahmanas get angry. And then one of the Brahmanas curses the king, saying that you'll become a lizard. Okay, you'll become a lizard for a very long time. He curses the king. So that's why you can see in the picture, right? He becomes a lizard. For many, many thousands of years, he stays like a lizard in that well. And finally, one day, Krishna, he sees this Pandavas were playing, and a ball falls or something, and they ask Krishna to remove it, and then they see this lizard in that. So they ask Krishna to remove that lizard, and you can see, right? Krishna delivers that lizard. He's trying to pull that lizard, right? So when he brings that out, he becomes King Nriga. Okay, then confesses he understands that I was trying to do good. I mean, like all these fruitative activities, karma kandi activities, when material activities that you do, even if you try to do good, you will get ill of it. See how much struggle he had to face. He was trying to do good by giving charity to the brahmanas, but for thousands of years he had to become a lizard. Okay. So that's why Krishna says that these karma kandi activities, if they are not done perfectly, will give you ill effects. These yagnas or sacrifice or material activities that you do, they will give you negative. Forget about the auspicious results that we are looking for. They will give you ill effects. So that's why Krishna says devotional service is the only auspicious activity for the soul. Okay. So, platform of knowledge. So, knowing the three doers. So, actually, in any activity, there are three main doers. Who are they? The living being, the soul. Okay, he is the doer number one, who knows that all bodily activities are automatically carried out by the modes of material nature. Who is the doer number two? So material nature is the doer number two. After those activities are sanctioned by the super soul, and super soul is the doer number three. So attains enlightenment through that knowledge. Okay. So here they are trying to say three doers are there. The living being, okay, and second is material nature or prakriti, and third person is the super soul. Right? The living being, he desires, and the super soul sanctions, and then the prakriti, she does it based on the orders of the super soul. So these three things happen. Okay, the soul, the material nature, and the super soul are the three doers. Okay, so 5.13. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. So translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. So now they're talking about the soul, the living entity here. Okay. So this shloka is explaining about real renunciation, real peace. So a Krishna conscious person, he mentally gives up the idea that I am the doer. See, when he gives up the mentality of I am the doer, means he does not act, what do you say? He does everything to please Krishna and not for his sense gratification, then he lives happily even while staying in this body. Okay? And what is this body they are comparing here in this shloka to? The city of nine gates. What is that? The body is compared with a city with nine gates. What are they? 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 anus, 1 genital. So totally 4. Yeah. So they are compared to the city of nine gates. Okay. So 2 eyes, 2 ears, nostrils, mouth, anus, genitals. The soul lives inside. Okay, but the body works automatically under material nature. So we have to understand. So the soul lives in the body, but the body works automatically under Prakriti. We saw, right, how like a puppet, it makes the body work, the Prakriti, right? Tying the three modes of material nature. Okay, the soul is aloof. The soul just lives in that body, but the body is practically governed by under the direction of material nature. So why do we suffer, and when do we suffer? When we think that we are the body, and we think that everything in this material world is for my enjoyment. I am the enjoyer. Okay, so then we like we want everything, we take credit, we want everything, the result also we want for ourselves. But then what, we have to bear the reaction, good or bad karma, for which again you have to come back to suffer or enjoy, and then you get lost in the cycle of birth and death. But when you start practicing Krishna consciousness, means what, you understand that you are the soul. You understand that you're no longer the body. Okay, so whatever activities that you do it to please Krishna. So then there is no karma. So you are happy. I mean, like, because there's no karma, you'll be relieved from this material world. Okay, and that's why you'll be peaceful, right? You're happy. There is no karma. You're happy serving Krishna. Okay. So this, they are talking about the living entity. See, if he thinks he's the body, he will be uh, attached to his I mean, he'll be in sense gratification. He'll be attached to his results. So he'll be caught up in this material world. But if he practices Krishna consciousness, all his activities will become akarma, right? And then there'll be no karma, so he will not have to come back to this material world. He will go back to Golak Vrindavan. So even here also he'll be happy and peaceful. Okay. Okay, it's the same thing. When he renounces the results, he or she can live happily. Okay. See, here you can see, right, how the three modes are making the bodies of these two persons act like puppets. Okay, so when the soul thinks he is the body, it's the Prakriti that takes control of the body. Okay, so now let's see that. So doer number 2 is material nature. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So that, what are they trying to say here? The soul is not the doer. The soul has no connection with the body. Okay, he does not create any actions. He does not force anyone to act, and does not even produce results. So it's just the material nature or Prakriti that is doing. So we have to understand that. So all actions and reactions happen through the modes of material nature. Okay, and suffering comes from ignorance. When the soul thinks, I am this body, okay, that is when he accepts happiness and distress. When you get detached from this body, so when you understand that, when the soul understands that you are not the body, so you and the soul are different. So that is when I mean, like, you understand your I mean that you're not the body, you're the soul. So then the soul directs the body to act in Krishna consciousness, right? She it starts engaging the eyes, ears, everything in the service of Krishna. Okay. So, Krishna consciousness lifts the soul out of the ocean of struggle. Otherwise, it is the body, if the soul thinks it is the body, it is under the control of Prakriti. Totally, the body acts under like a puppet under Prakriti. Okay. So, 15th shloka. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Okay, the Krishna does not take, is not in charge of anybody's sinful or pious activities. He's not partial or anything like that. Okay, embodied beings, however, embodied beings means what? Soul, which is embodied in the body. They're talking about the soul. Soul, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers the real knowledge, right? So Krishna does not take anyone's karma. The Supreme Lord does not accept sin or pious reactions of any living being. That we have to understand. Okay, and God is never to blame. We can never blame God. So He does not create a suffering or enjoyment for anyone. It is our own karma, right? The actions that we do, we are responsible for it. So Krishna is never responsible for that. And the real problem is we are in ignorance. Why? Because our true knowledge is covered, so we become confused. Okay. So, and one more thing is actually when the soul desires something, it Krishna, like depending on whether it should be sanctioned or not, whatever, he sanctions. So here Krishna is the sanctioner, and if see the soul is the initiator, he initiates the desire, and when he initiates the desire, Krishna sanctions it. Depends on what like his karma or whatever be it. Krishna sanctions it, and then it is implemented by the third doer, that is Prakriti. So this is the chain. Okay, so he allows the soul desires, but never becomes responsible for the results. So when one desires Krishna, but when we start practicing Krishna consciousness, means we do all our activities in Krishna consciousness. That's when Krishna helps us, because we are turning towards him, right? We are trying to please Krishna when we are doing our duty, not for our sense gratification, but to please Krishna. So that's when Krishna tries to help us. Okay, so the Lord guides the soul towards liberation and eternal happiness. See here. So doer two, the modes of material nature, they are doing everything, but they are doing under the direction of the Lord. Doer three is the super soul, is sanctioning his, but still he is aloof. The Lord doesn't take responsibilities for anybody's impious or pious activities. The soul desires, the Lord doesn't interfere. The Lord sanctions these desires as the living entity deserves. Then the modes carry things out. This is the knowledge in the mode of goodness. So here you can see the chain, right? Who is the soul? He is the initiator. He desires, right? And role of material nature is facilitator. See, when and the role of the Lord is sanctioner. So it is like this. See, the soul desires, so he is the initiator, and that desire is put forward to Krishna, who is the sanctioner. Okay, and then from Krishna, once Krishna sanctions, it goes to material nature, who is the facilitator, who starts putting it into implementation. Okay, so you see this in the PPT, this you'll understand better. See, the Jiva desires, he puts that desire to Lord Vishnu or Krishna, right? And then Super Soul, he verifies and sanctions based on, does this Jiva deserve to get this desire fulfilled? Okay, once, if it is sanctioned, it goes to Prakriti. Prakriti, after receiving Super Soul's order, material nature, through three modes, Sattva, Raja, Tama, fulfills Jiva's desire. Okay, so this is the chain. It fulfills the Jiva's desire, and again Jiva desires, it goes to Krishna, and Krishna sanctions. Again, it is implemented by Prakriti, and it repeats, goes on repeating. Okay. So here comparing soul and super soul, which all of you I think know, soul and super soul both are eternal, both are blissful, but suffers when covered by Maya. Okay, the soul, when it comes into this material world, it is covered by Maya, it suffers here. But Krishna, though he comes to this material world, he always comes in his transcendental body. He is always blissful, he is above the material modes. He is cognizant of his body, like he knows the pain, the soul, he knows the pains and pleasures of his particular body, own body. But the super soul, he knows the pains and pleasures of all bodies, all living entities. because he's present as super soul in all the body living entities, right? And his soul is Anu, very small, atomic, very, very, very small. Super soul is Vibhu, right? He's ultimate, he's very big. Okay, he's omniscient. And has soul has minute independence to desire, but is dependent upon super soul to fulfill desires. See, we have that minute independence, right? So that's why the soul is called marginal. It can either be in the material world or the spiritual world. So it has that minute independence to desire. But finally, it is dependent on the super soul to fulfill desires. Super soul is obviously is completely independent. He can do whatever he wants and however he wants. Okay. Um, so we'll stop here for today. 17 tomorrow we'll continue.